We will read the passage before we go ahead and take the questions. It says, the writings of the philosopher Plato have been analyzed, critiqued, and interpreted in countless ways over the past 2 millennia. However, his Republic still stands out as an intellectual hallmark of Greek socio political commentary and a prescriptive utopian vehicle. We need not confine the basic elements of Platonic thought to Platonic times, especially when we consider the roles and status of women in our own modern societies. Regarding this topic, Plato is surprisingly forward thinking, right? So it says here that which topic? This topic refers to basically the topic about the status of women, right? Regarding this topic, Plato is surprisingly forward thinking and appears in stark contrast to many contemporary currents of thought, as well as many which preceded and followed him, right? Plato begins this discourse in Book 5 of the Republic by referring to an earlier fundamental principle of that work, namely that jobs and functions in an ideal state ought to be distributed according to one's nature, inclination, and capability. He then inquires into their natures and capabilities and asks if anything aside from physiology separates men and women. He soon concludes not. He feels that they are endowed equally with natural capacities for all administrative occupations, including guardianship of the city as well as its defense, and that there is no sufficient difference between them to justify the exclusion of women from the most important duties of the state. He does believe, though, that since women are traditionally the physically weaker of the sexes, nature also dictates that they be given a lighter share of these duties in keeping with their assumed level of strength. So physical duties basically is what he says, that the duties which have been given here should be given the lighter share of these duties because they are physically weaker, right? It says further, in order to arrive at this ideal, Plato advocates a system of equal education for men and women being raised as auxiliaries and guardians. Well, then, to make a woman into a guardian, we presumably need the same education as we need to make a man into one, especially as it will operate on the same nature in both. Moreover, he suggests that women ought to be allowed to exercise naked in gymnasia alongside the men as part of their physical education regimen to keep them healthy and fit for military service. Our women guardians must strip for exercise, then their excellence will be all the clothes they need. Plato is quite confident that any potential critiques would be silenced once they see the quality of woman, which his system will produce. Right. So basically, the passage is all about Plato's attitude towards women, and he basically describes what women are fit for and what are they unfit for. Right. We'll take the first question without going much into the details of the passage because the passage is simple and easy to understand. According to the passage, the Plato's attitude towards women can be best described as, we shouldn't have the article Plato here, the here. According to the passage, Plato's attitude towards women can be best described as. Now you must understand, when you say non-conformist, it basically means that someone who is. It says here, right, that Plato is surprisingly forward-thinking and appears in stark contrast to many contemporary currents of thought, as well as that means basically Plato was very much different from the contemporary currents of thought, and therefore he was basically non-conformist. Conformist basically means the one who adheres to the traditions and practices of his times. A non-conformist is the one who does not adhere to traditions and practices of his time, right? Cynical basically means skeptical, and we don't have that cynicism anywhere. He's basically very much positive about it. Fawning basically means, in a way, in obsequious and fawning, they both are one and the same thing, as if he is basically, uh, 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 trying to please, and he's not basically fawning or obsequious. He's not trying to please anyone. Non-conformist is the best answer because we have the evidence here, and therefore B is the right choice.